There he is, Alex himself. Alex, how are you?
Doing pretty swell. How are you?
I'm doing great. So you got a big smile on your face. All is well. How different is your life at this point than, let's say, like 2 weeks ago, before 222? You're about to embark on your first UFC fight. Like, does it feel drastically different right now for you?
No, no. I mean, it's been a hell of a 2 weeks, but everything's been about the same. I think every girl I've ever talked to in my life has probably DM'd or messaged my phone, but aside from that,
It can't
no,
just be the same,
that
right?
hasn't really been too much change.
Really? I,
I'm
I feel
sorry.
like I feel like life has to be different. How is it not different? Other than the girl thing, which is a great byproduct, but how is it not different?
It's just back to business, man. I mean, I, I've been here for so long mentally, and now that we're physically here, it's just another day at work. And so I got back to the gym on Monday per usual. Just had to juggle, a billion interviews and a couple doctor visits to make sure everything was up to par. But I keep saying this is only the beginning, and so I mean we're just scratching the surface on what's to change and what's to come. But right now, nothing too crazy.
You're a supremely confident guy, and you said that you've been thinking about this and planning for this for quite some time. But honestly, did you expect it to go down like this, to get a fight on like a week's notice, to knock out a guy like Dariush, like a top 10 guy in less than a minute? Like I know you expect it to be in the UFC and make waves, but the circumstances surrounding your debut and the way it unfolded, did you really expect that?
You know, it's a crazy business, and I've known that. And I kind of thought that more than likely I'd probably be the poor who got the 7 day notice call. And truthfully, we were kind of planning on it to happen. There's that Austin card, the UFC Austin card, and I think it was February.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of half expecting that might happen. Like I said, I'm always kind of just in shape and ready to go. But we were kind of planning on that. Whenever that didn't happen, it was like, okay, I was planning for a regional level fight. And whenever that call came, it was just like, man, how much better is this than just this local Austin card? We get to go to Vegas instead. So I guess I wasn't necessarily planning on it, but I was ready for it, and I was just so freaking excited, man. Just the thought of making that kind of historical impact on my debut on an 8 day notice. I mean, I was fired up, and I didn't think it was maybe going to happen in 42 seconds. Happened a little quicker than we expected, but by the end of that week, and by the time it was fight prep, by the time it was Thursday or Friday that week, I kept saying, "I don't." You're a betting man, place your bets for the first round. Something is making it to the second.
You told us after the fight that around 3 4 months ago you were working as a mortgage loan officer, and then you
Yeah,
had this epiphany, like you had a quarter life crisis, as you put it, and you said, I'm going
yeah,
to go
yeah.
all in, and I'm going to devote my life and see where this MMA thing takes me. I'm wondering if you heard from anyone at that company you used to work for after you did what you did 2 Saturdays ago.
Yeah, we were all real close. Both companies. I worked at a place called Gold Financial Services, and I worked at another called Premier Nationwide Lending. And everyone was really close. I think they all saw something. It was a good feeling when nobody told me I was crazy. Just bad crazy for quitting my job. Everybody kind of saw it coming, and everybody was surprisingly supportive. And then afterwards, of course, hearing the praise and the congratulations was really nice. But I think everybody sort of knew it was in the stars for me. So.
What does a quarter life crisis look like, feel like? What led to this? How
Dude,
did you
for me,
develop this?
I'm so brutal on myself, man. I mean, I imagine like we're a middle age crisis, and you go and buy that sports car or date that 22-year-old blonde or do whatever you gotta do. I mean, that's literally I felt like I was falling apart. I beat myself up for years on kind of what's the right direction with me. I've had ups and downs in fighting and in my business professional life, and so going back and forth on what's the right decision. I was putting so much into both, like 15-hour days between juggling the two, and so. Like I said, I kind of just decided, I have my whole life to sit behind a desk, but I have a real finite window to chase this dream and seize it, and I'll just be if I don't. So I had to essentially get off the pot, and I've talked so much to myself for so long, like, man, you could do this if you just put everything into it. You could do it. You could do it. You could do it. And so it was extremely liberating to make that decision. And then I was followed by a ton of angst and anxiety, just laying in bed thinking, no, this is all very real now. You've got to do it. But it's obviously the best decision I ever made.
Financially, what were those like 3 4 months like? Because like the UFC could call you in a year. You kind of got lucky that they called you relatively early. How much
Right.
stress were you under to try to get this thing to happen sooner rather than later?
I put myself under some unnecessary stress because I'm such a perfectionist and everything. But really, I had enough money saved up. I was really successful in that business, and it was a lucrative one. And so I had enough saved up for over a year where I could have lived comfortably, trained, and nothing really would have changed. And so I knew I was going to make it in by end of 2018. But if it had to stretch further, it could have. So I was truthfully in a really good place to do it.
By the way, what is a mortgage loan officer?
Uh, Dude, it's just like the rest of the world, just wiping ass and kissing babies. You're just kissing people's ass like you do anything else, man. It's a business of building relationships, and you get really good at kind of rubbing elbows and telling people what they need to hear, and then you get really good at analyzing and managing some financial stats. And so, first and foremost is building relationships, and I got really, really good at shaking hands, convincing people that are twice my age, my parents' age, that this 18-year-old looking kid, especially when I started, is trustworthy of closing the biggest financial purchases of your life. And, with that, I developed a lot of speech skills. I had to talk in front of a multitude of people. And so that, really transcended into the fight game and what I'm doing now, I feel like, and helped me out in confidence tremendously, man. I was more nervous for some of those speeches and things I had to hold and people I had to speak in front of and tutorials I had to teach, more so than I was in that UFC debut. So, I'd say they really benefited each other and coincided. I didn't realize it at the time, but I do now.
Is it true that you accepted your debut without knowing who the opponent was?
Oh yeah, what am I going to say? No, of course I accept that debut. No matter what, we need to be in the UFC by any means necessary, and whatever the challenge was, I was going to meet it. So yeah, I heard UFC 222 Vegas. Do you want it? And I immediately said yes. And then afterward, proceeded to ask, who might that opponent be? And when we found out, I got a little goosebump down my back. So I was just so damn excited about how much bigger than McGregor I'm about to be.
So you weren't thinking like, oh snap, I may have bitten off more than I can chew, things like that.
No, everybody, everyone's human. And so you have moments of doubt that kind of trickle through your mind, but you just have to wipe those out. Like I said, man, when that call happened, it was like, wow, this is a big opportunity. We can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And I'm going to do this. And then as that week continued to, pass through, I continued to evolve mentally. Like midweek, it was, I'm going to win this fight. This is mine. There's no way we can lose this fight. This is my fight. And then by the end of the week, like I said, I was convinced that I was going to finish this fight in the first round. And so there's a huge progression and evolution of my mental being, I guess, throughout that week. And my whole team, we just had a hell of a Google think tank in the back there. And we were just, progressing.
Now, it's all been positive. You couldn't have scripted it better than this. However, the one thing that keeps coming up whenever I talk about you, whenever I see anything about you, is a lot of fans coming out and saying, yeah, what about that fake glove tap? Can you explain this? What happened there? Did you fake him out? What were you thinking? What's going on? And what about the criticism? How annoying is all of this? What do I
It's not annoying me. I'm
Go ahead.
surrounded by positivity.
Okay.
No, I'll say no. I'm not worried about the negativity. But yeah, what do you think it looked like?
Look, at the time, I didn't think much. There's a couple times where I see this. I thought about this with another fighter. It just happened with a couple weeks ago. But then when you talked afterwards about, gauging the distance, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I don't like the glove tap. I don't understand why people do it. I don't understand why they stand at this other side of the cage and signal to their opponent like, hey, let's touch glove. Why? You're about to fight. Who the hell needs doing like do that afterwards? I hate when it happens. So I didn't go crazy about it, but I wanted to hear your line of thinking and if there's any validity to it all.
I'm not opposed to glove tapping, especially if you make it known prior. If somebody waved for a glove tap and you address it, then yeah, you should absolutely respect that. We didn't do that. I think glove tapping between rounds is the silliest thing in the world. But the initial game plan was to charge him, and I said it in this Twitter post and to the sofa scrubs and just all these trolls. If you got someone in a 4-point stance, crouched like a lion, beaming through the windows of your soul across the cage from you, you better prepare yourself for a battle, not to pats and palms.
Yeah.
There's nothing, and I wasn't trying to fake anything about it. I got a long range, and I utilize it. That arm's my metric for distance, and so the whole plan was to charge the cage, to storm him, and disrupt his cadence entirely with a hard teep to a soft belly, and then to set that range, set the tempo, and put it in my cadence, make sure that I dictated the way the fight was going to move. And so that all went according to plan. And the glove tap was not in the plans. Neither was a fake glove tap. I wasn't faking it. My arm went right back up where I left it before the kick. And so it was just part of an aggressive start. That's all.
Have you ever done the fake glove tap thing before?
No, damn it. It wasn't a fake glove tap.
All right. I'm just saying, in your life, I don't know if it's part of your arsenal that people are bringing up.
No. I'll start aggressive and I'll do, I'm always very rangeful. I'm trying to think if I started with just hitting. I've not tapped gloves before if the opponent didn't want to tap gloves, unless they make it known, or, I mean, I guess just depends the mood. But again, if you got somebody storming and they reach your end of the cage before you touch that front line, then you should probably just put your hands up.
Why'd you sign up to Twitter last week?
Oh, managerial pressure. I just kind of decided to do it, and I figured if it was there, I might use it, and if I don't, I don't. But I'm not going to spend my day on it. But it's just another avenue that's there, and maybe I'll come up with some things that people might care to hear, and I'll say it. And that's kind of a cool way to just address, the majority at once, I guess.
And what do you think of it so far? The reaction, some of the replies that you're getting, because you're not coming out and saying, "Hey guys, great to be here." You're coming out like that fight, guns blazing right off the bat. Jeez.
Yeah. I'm still getting a footing for it.
Okay.
So my idea, I guess, I'll just come in and just sprinkle a little greatness on them, and then walk away. I don't even really wait to hear the responses. I just sort of say what I gotta say and leave. And so I guess for that reason, I think it's pretty cool. You just kind of talk your shit and bounce, I guess, like everyone else does. So
it's great.
Yeah, it's okay. Do you use Twitter heavily? Are you a big Twitter fan?
Yeah, maybe too much. I probably check it like 4,800 times a day. I'm addicted to Twitter.
Is that your preferred media outlet? Would be Twitter?
Well, social media, yeah, because it's the best way to disseminate news and to stay on top of news. I never go on Facebook. Very rarely on Instagram. Twitter for me is my go-to place. In fact, this show right now is airing live on Twitter as we speak.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Bashing my primary platforms. I need to open up to that.
Well, it's good that you did it.
So you'd say obviously having Twitter is a pretty big component of all this. So you would also recommend, yeah.
I would advocate it, and I would say be active and keep doing what you're doing. Don't just be like, oh, today I'm training. No one cares about that stuff. Have a personality, engage, talk some scrap. Like no one wants to hear about what you ate for breakfast. Enough of that.
I agree. Yeah, nobody wants to see the acai bowls or you punch in the bag every day. So I agree. I try not to bore people. If I don't have anything to say, I just don't say anything.
Now, if you want to give us breakdowns on like the mortgage situation in America, where things are at, mortgage rates, things, that would be fascinating. I mean, I think you'll get a lot of followers if you start doing that.
I think I'm so far gone from that right now. I haven't looked up a mortgage news daily report in about 4 months. And so, I mean, yeah, we could all be in calamity for all I know. There could be bubbles popping twice.
How soon do you want to return?
I mean, I'm pretty flexible with the ass whoopings. I could deal them any time of the year, and so I don't have like I don't have a preferred date. But what's most important to me right now is really just building up the brand, building the image, and getting that hype train, fully mobilized. I certainly don't want to scurry into another fight on a short-term notice like this last one. I think I obviously deserve to do it right this time and have a major impact on whatever card I'm on. So. Just by the looks of what the UFC has lined up, it looks probably more like in the summertime or just summer range. But like I said, I mean, I'm pretty flexible. I'm just I'm partly nursing this left hand, the knockout hand. It was a little swollen afterwards, so I've been trying to get that right. That's about it.
What's wrong?
Otherwise, I'm in pretty good health. I got it X-rayed, and I didn't see any fractures or breaks, but it's just been swollen and real agitating, so I'm just taking it a little easy.
Okay.
Just working around it, really.
But not broken?
No, not broken. I've been in the gym the last 2 weeks. I'm actually here in LA now working.
And is it true that you were on Reddit calling for James Vick? Was that you? Is that what you want next as far as opponent?
I don't even know, dude. I've had so many interviews. I don't know when I call for James Vick or not, but I'm open to whoever, man. So the way that name got tossed in the pot originally, So I forgot what interviewer. There's been a couple of them that threw his name around. I guess it's kind of that North Texas versus South Texas clash kind of idea,
Oh yeah, I like
and the
it.
fact that he doesn't have any yeah, he doesn't have any opponents lined up right now. So I was like, yeah, man, that's awesome. Once I saw the rankings, I saw his name was a couple slots above me. Then I was open to the idea of it. Sure, I think that'd be a swell next match. I could really care less who they put in front of me, but I mean, James Vick could absolutely get it next. It doesn't particularly matter.
By the way, where does this? Have you always been this confident? Like I could just see with you standing there in front of us after the fight, the way you speak, you have a lot of self confidence. Have you always been this way?
It took some work, took some progression. I do a lot of achievement in my life before I reached this level of confidence. But I mean, thank God for it. You know, universe, whoever. I think I've reached a mental plateau and it's still growing. But I think I'm kind of at a place where most people don't get to reach their whole life. So I'm pretty fortunate for that. But no, I mean, I definitely had lows, and I had to overcome a lot of things in that business professional life as well as fighting, and prove some things to myself to get here. But yeah, there was a time where I had too much anxiety fighting. Like I just wasn't performing the way that I wanted to. And I think that's the biggest difference between a lot of these cats in the upper level UFC versus just not in these other promotions, is that they perform as well in practice as they do in the cage versus these other guys who just can't let themselves go. And so for a time period, I felt like that was me, where I just couldn't perform. I had a lot of angst and it was just stressful. And I kind of let go of fighting. I just did it for fun for a bit. And I guess I just had to overcome some things and prove some things to myself to get to where I'm at now. But just sort of little mental blockades we put up, you know, on ourselves that you got to break past.
And what a physique! Holy smokes, you've got like a 12 pack. Do you eat any junk food ever? Do you ever let yourself go?
Dude, I've crushed about 3 racks of Girl Scout cookies in the last 24 hours. I mean, my cheeks look like I ate 2 of me right now, dude. I've been a dirty bitch these last this last week. I mean, I'm real good during the day, and then at night I get like these little munchy cravings, and I just go a little too in. But no. Prior to that, I'm really strict and professional about my diet, and there's really no funny business in there. I work out like a madman, but it's real functional training, and I've been, you know, building a physique since I was 12, 13 years old, wrestling and things, and so my diet's real serious business. I think that's what probably makes the biggest difference in my performance right now too, is that
Well,
diet.
congratulations, Alex. What a debut. Way to make some noise, you know, right off the bat in super spectacular fashion, and way to make it memorable, my man, from everything that you did in the cage to afterwards to the Twitter debut. It's been a great couple of weeks for you, and I'm looking forward to seeing how you progress in this UFC career of yours. So keep it up. And again, congrats, and thanks for joining
Yeah, I
us this
appreciate it.
morning.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me.
All right, there he
Talk to you
is,
soon.
Alex Hernandez.